This afternoon we're going to make a cabbage and beet sauerkraut. We're going to make just a sample, a pint size. So you're going to need about a couple cups of cabbage, 1 beet, and a teaspoon and a half of sea salt. So first you're going to have to rinse your cabbage and remove any of the tough outer leaves. Cut it in half, core it, save a couple of those leaves that you cut off, and then you just need to shred up your cabbage. So you've got a couple cups shredded up. I'll just add it to the bit I've got here, so I've got a couple cups there ready to go now. So next, we have to get our beets ready. So we peel and shred our beets. You always peel your beets when you're making a fermented sauerkraut, because if you don't, the beet peels will make your ferment taste like dirt. Not a very pleasant taste. So you can use a hand grater, a mandolin, or a food processor to do this, but I like to use my food processor, and I use the coarsest blade so I get a nice texture of beet in the sauerkraut. There we go. Beets are ready. And we just add our beets to our cabbage in the bowl. And next we add our salt. We're going to start with a teaspoon and just sprinkle it on to the veggies, and we massage it in. Well, salt actually does a couple of things for our ferment. It protects against the growth of undesirable microorganisms and actually increases the growth of the beneficial ones. Salt also draws out the brine from the vegetables, which is really needed for anaerobic fermentation. You need the brine to start the oxygen from getting to the veggies. The brine is already forming here in an awesome way. So how do you know if you have enough salt? Because I said, around a teaspoon and a half. Well, the way to tell is to actually take a taste test. The veggies should have enough salt that they taste the saltiness of a potato chip. And these ones are good and salty. So now it's time to actually pack it into our jar. And just take a handful at a time, put it in, and you want to pack it in really, really tightly, because you don't want any air pockets, because remember, this is an anaerobic ferment. That's a ferment without any oxygen. Sometimes people use a wooden tamper to help pound those veggies in, but it's up to you. Just make sure they're packed in tight. And as I said, you can really begin to see that brine starting to form. And here it is. Keep in packing. You've got just a couple inches left in the jar. And then you take one of those cabbage leaves that you reserved at the start, and you want to take and cut any thick veins, because you want to use that to be like, they call it a primary follower. But what it is, it's sort of like a shield that you can put in that's going to help keep your veggies beneath the brine. And then after you've done that, you just wipe the insides of the jar so that there are no bits left on the outside, because any bits could actually turn moldy. But what we need to keep this submerged underneath the brine, so we need a weight. And what I've done is taken a small jar and filled it with water that fits fairly tightly, snugly into my pint jar. And then you see, when you add that pressure, you see how it actually creates lots of brine. And then you would just cover it with a cloth and tighten it with an elastic band, and just set it in a pan on your kitchen counter out of the sun for 2 to 4 weeks. Probably this will be ready in a couple weeks because it's such a small amount. The reason we put it in a pan is because beet ferments can be really lively and it could bubble over. Well, after a week, I'd suggest if you've made just a small amount like this, take and have a sample. It should smell tangy and fresh. And if it does, then take a small bit to taste. Just get a spoon, a small bit out. It should taste crunchy, tangy, and very fresh. So when your ferment is the flavor that you like, just take a screw lid, put it on, and then you go close into your refrigerator.